He's like, what I do have a problem with Dinklage putting himself on the pedestal and looking down on jobs that countless dwarves in the entertainment industries would love to fill. So on one hand, you have Peter Dinklage, who's basically like, we shouldn't be making movies about dwarves. And then on the other hand, you have other people in the community who are like, yo, I want a job, I want to be an actor, and there's not that many roles that would, that I can fill as a dwarf, as a little person. And so it's like that kind of, and it's like Disney's. This is the problem with like when people try to go too woke. They can't. They're trying to please everyone, and they can't because there's always going to be someone that's mad. I mean, just make the movie you want to make. If people watch it, they watch it. If they don't, they don't. Don't come out here and try to tote you're progressive. Because here's the thing: what Peter Dinklage is mad about is like, look, I don't want roles just for little people, right? I want any other roles. Like if you're going to cast the new James Bond, like why not cast a little person, right? Or, that's just a role. They just want a role. They don't want here is a little person role. They just want a role. So if Disney is truly progressive, I know Disney doesn't have 007. I don't know Disney's main non-cartoon movies. Like if you're going to cast, the new Star Wars, whoever's going to be the new, if you have a new Jedi, why don't you cast a little person in that? If you want to be progressive, it doesn't have to be they don't have to be a little person Jedi. Or Disney has all those stupid like young kids like live action shows, like Hannah Montana was one when I was like younger. Like why don't you cast a little person as the main lead in your little teeny bopper reality TV shows, or not reality, scripted shows. But they're not progressive. They just say they are so they can hope they can please some certain people and people will show up to their movies. But they're not. So, and lo and behold, the problem is that you try to be all progressive and woke, but in the end, you know what you end up doing? You end up giving the jobs back to the people that you don't want to have the jobs in the first place, right? You don't want white men to have the jobs, right? That's basically what you're trying to do. So you're trying to avoid that at all costs and say that you're progressive by giving it to people of color, women, stuff like that, right? But guess what happens in the end? This is what happens in the end. Where is it? The rumors that Disney will incorporate magical creatures into their movie to replace the dwarves. So now you're just going to make CGI characters instead of dwarves, right? Watch where I'm going with this. So now the opportunity for dwarves or little people that are actors, not very many rules. That's a society we live in. I don't make the movies, right? So not very many roles for them. So when a role does come up, like being in the Seven Dwarfs, which is a massive movie, Snow White and Seven Dwarfs is a huge movie. So this is like would be one of their biggest roles they could possibly fill. What does Disney do? Oh, yeah, we're just going to get rid of them. And I guarantee you to begin with, they weren't going to cast little people anyways. They're going to cast famous actors, musicians, all that kind of stuff, and then shrink them down with CGI. That's what they were going to do to begin with. I know it because they want famous people in the movie. Like some musician, a bunch of like famous actors, Sleepy is played by, Hugh Jackman. I don't know, like that. They weren't going to cast little people anyways. So now they're going to create them into mythical creatures, right? What is it? Magical creatures? Magical creatures to replace the dwarves. So what does that mean? That means they're going to be CGI characters. And who creates CGI characters? A bunch of white and computer nerd men, right? Those are the people that work in the CGI industry. I understand there's many different diversity of people, but majority are men, right? And those are the people who can create it. And guess what? On top of that, Disney now doesn't have to pay royalties on those people because when you act in a movie, not only do you have to pay them, but if you have speaking lines, you have to pay them even more. And then you have to pay them royalties anytime that movie is shown on TV or streaming or anything like that. You have to pay that actor royalties. It might be a very small amount, but it's still money. And then anytime you go overseas, yes, their voice is dubbed over. Say you're in, in Brazil or something like that. Anytime the actor still, like Leonardo DiCaprio is still on screen in Wolf of Wall Street, even though it's being shown in Brazil, but they might dub over his voice or they subtitle. I don't know. Depends. But sometimes they dub over his voice with someone else that speaks the language of that country that's in. And so then Leonardo DiCaprio will get money for his appearance, but he won't get money for the royalties of his voice. So it's all separate just like that. So now if you replace these characters with CGI characters, now you don't have to pay royalties on the people that would have been acting in it. Disney saves money that way. And you just have to pay the team that creates it. Work for hire. Like, I want you to create me a CGI character. Okay, I will pay, whatever it is. Was International ILM, International Light and Magic. I think those are the people that Disney owns. Pay them, create some weird looking creature, and then we'll have some famous person do the voice. A musician, a couple famous people. That's what it's going to be. And so what do you do then? Now, not only do you get rid of any dwarves that could have or little people that could have possibly been in your movie and had a breakout role, right? They're gone. They're not acting in the movie. But now you got any new actor that could have been like, oh, this is my breakout role. I'm playing one of the dwarves in it, and they're going to CGI me down and make me look smaller, like they did in The Hobbit, like they did in Lord of the Rings. They didn't cast little people. They cast normal-sized people and CGI'd them down. So progressive. I know Lord of the Rings is not Disney. But in any case, so now you're just having a bunch of already rich and famous people to begin with just voice these characters. Way to go, Disney.